Bula Vinaka, Talafalava, Malalole, and Kia ora family. Welcome back to the Nesian Money Show. This show is all about empowering Pacifica families in the areas of money, home ownership, and finance in general. Guys, today we've got some very, very amazing and unique guests. Unique because we've got our first female duo on the show, June and Maude. And I'm very, very grateful to have you guys on today, guys. June and Maude are very experienced nurses. They've been in the field for over 10 years each. And Maude's got her own nursing business, which she started with a friend, which we'll hear a little bit more about today. But I guess, guys, in the Pacific community, what the saying is, health is wealth. So healthier communities make for better families and society in general. So today we really want to pick the nurses' brains in terms of health issues within our community, but also share a little bit about their own journeys in terms of nursing as a career pathway for a lot of our young Pacifica out there. Nursing I feel like is one of the most undervalued occupations that we have. I feel like they're underpaid and overworked, and today we're gonna get some more out of them, some more value out of them for very little, for free basically. But thank you very much, guys, for coming on the show. And it's gonna be an exciting and interesting conversation today. We're all very nervous. We're gonna break these nerves and get into it. Yeah, welcome, June. Welcome, Maude.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. I think the off camera conversations,
the teasers.
But you guys are basically the first duo female couple that we have had on the show. We haven't had too many females, so this is hopefully would inspire other females as well who are watching in different occupations and professions to be able to come on and share their stories. I'll start with you, Maude. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family, and your cultural background, and just a little bit about you.
Yes, I think off camera we were laughing about how vanilla. So I grew up in a family. I've got my older sister, and I've got my mum and my dad, and I've got a big extended family for Caucasian as well. But I'm super fortunate to have that upbringing, and I've always had my two grandmothers who have been so important in my life, and my grandma who was a nurse and inspired me to be a nurse as well, with her kindness and compassion, but also how ridiculously staunch she was. So I think I had that. I grew up in inner city Sydney. I had a good old colourful teen years and made it through all of that, and grateful for all of those lessons and experience, and I think it made me the person that I am today. And then I've got my two kids. I've got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old that keep me on my toes and have a good time with them. But
they're half Samoan?
So my kids are Samoan. I'm very proud Samoans, barely acknowledge their Australian side, but that's okay. That's all right.
Your ancestry is your parents are...
So my dad's actually came from Germany.
Oh, okay.
Which he doesn't really associate anything with, but he came from Germany, and my mum's Australian. So
Oh, beautiful.
That's me. That's me. And been nursing for over 15 years now. So started when I was 19. Nursing, which when I reflect back on, was pretty young to start nursing. But always have loved it. Obviously don't do it for our amazing paycheck in the hospitals, but we do love it, and I've loved the experience of being a nurse and having that opportunity to cross paths with people like Junie and that change your life, and that do you create these friendships from our careers, because we're also like-minded, or most of us are so like-minded, and they're because we care about people, and we're here to provide and to care for people. So
So did you go to school in the Marrickville area?
Yes, I went to school in Newtown.
Yes.
I went to primary school in Redfern, grew up in that Redfern area and that community, and that was good. That was such a unique experience growing up there in the 90s and early 2000s. Definitely it was not like Chippendale or Darlington that is now. There wasn't all that many Polynesians like in Redfern, but in Marrickville was a very big Tongan community. So still a fair few Tongans in Marrickville community. But there was a big Pacific Islander community back then, and that was all kind of who we grew up with as well. Super fortunate to have had those experiences and upbringing and understanding of family units and culture from that side of things, and then to have my own big Caucasian family as well, and lots of first cousins, and we all grew up really close in the city as well. So
Oh wow, yeah, you're a perfect blend of actually what we're trying to exemplify on this show. You know, like it's all about community and integration, and you know, like being one.
Yeah.
I guess you know, us Pacific Islanders, we tend to get along with everybody,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's like you know, like now diversity is like just a like
Yeah.
you know, we're all integrated, so it's really good to
Yeah.
to hear from somebody who's actually
Experiencing it,
experienced in it.
Yeah. And I think that's like with nursing as well, we're always caring for people from all these different backgrounds and cultures, and it is like you have to have that profound respect and understanding for what that means for that person, for their family unit, for the health that you know, the healthcare that you're providing them. And yeah, like we do get to see that within so many different cultural groups, and I think it's always such a privilege that you get to have that understanding and that knowledge. And how that differs from your own life and from your own families. Like, I find it interesting and like humbling.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
And June, Bula. Welcome.
The real Fijian.
The real FIJI is in the house.
Plastic.
Stop it.
I don't think there's a term, plastic Fijian. You know, because we've been discussing this on the show a little bit. Like, you know, sometimes because if you haven't grown up in the islands, that term plastic often comes up. But someone said to me that you can't be, you just, like if you're a Fijian or if you're a Samoan, if you're a Tongan, if you're Australian, you can't be un-Fijian or un-Australian. You just are.
Yeah.
So it's from that perspective of plastic, where does that come from, June? You know, like, does it, like just, but
I think it just comes down to like how I communicate with the community.
Yeah.
And if I'm like, you know, kind of integrate with my real Fijians on a regular basis, which is something I need to work on.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where it comes from. Like, you know, I look like a Fijian, I present and have, you know, the humility and everything of a Fijian, that respect and culture, but I don't think I associate with a lot of Fijians. Yeah.
Is it because upbringing you weren't so close to?
Not really. I think it's just like life. Yeah. You know, Sydney's so busy, work, and you know, just finding that time to try to participate back in.
But do you associate it with language? Like, do you associate so much of like, I know we always have this joke, and you always make that joke that you're plastic, but it's like Joe said, that you can't un-Fiji in your DNA. Like, but it, like, for me, especially for the kids, like, I just think that for my kids, language is so important for them because it's so closely associated with like identity and understanding of culture. Is that language component?
That is, and
it's
a massive language barrier for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I can understand the main, you know, lingo. I can understand Fijian majority of the time. But speaking back, communicating back in Fijian is sort of like broken English. I mean, broken Fijian, sorry.
I just didn't want to lose my train of thought, but now I've got to go back to the first question, which is, June, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and that might put, you know, things into perspective.
Right, okay, so I'm one of four, being the youngest. So dad is Fijian. Mom is also Fijian, but in her younger years, she basically grew up most of her life in America. So a lot of the Western culture was embedded in her, and part of that upbringing in America had also lost that traditional pathway of like Fijian, but it was still in her. Like, she still knew the culture and how to do things properly as a Fijian. I won't go into detail with that, but, you know, she's from a very high upbringing as well, and so in dad's side. I grew up basically most of my life in Roselands, Canterbury area, Bankstown. You know, I think there was a fair bit of Fijians around the area, but I found majority were Middle Eastern, you know, your Bangladesh and so forth, more the Islamic community around that area during the time I was growing up. So I guess part of that also played why I wasn't associating with a lot of Fijians. I went to Beverly Hills Girls High School. All girls. I had to be on the straight pathway. So, you know, my high school was like basically 90% Middle Eastern.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
wow,
So
wow.
only 10% was like, like a mixed Australian Samoans.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
that's interesting.
there was only 2
Do
Fijians
you
in the
speak
school.
Arabic? Yeah.
Oh yeah, a little bit shukran and all this,
Yeah, how do you be?
That's from work as well. Like you have to learn how to speak a little bit of
Yeah.
every language. Hey, but Arabic, you have to be fluent in
Oh,
Arabic at work.
definitely.
Oh, nice, man. And you got a beautiful son.
Oh yes, I do. Jimmy boy, always checking on mum.
I literally called you 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
Just share your location.
I know. So Jimmy, I raised him basically at a young age. I had him young. He's 19 years old. And I'm so thankful that my mom played a lot of time in his life to help me guide him in the right pathway, as well as my brothers, being there and supporting, being that kind of father figure, that great uncle looking after how his choices are in life. What can I say?
Do you know where your mum and dad is from in Fiji?
Yeah, look, I'm never correct. I can't actually pronounce mum's village very clear, but it's a village like apart from the main Viti level, so you can only go there by boat. Yeah. I'll remember on top of my head one day. But dad is from Verata.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome. So you grew up. So mom, when did she come back from America? Did she come straight to Australia? Or?
Yeah, I believe she came back to Australia, and then from there it's basically getting her kids over here. She did it quite tough, trying to raise us and trying her best to provide for us at the same time. Yeah.
And so sorry, mom came back.
Dad stayed back home.
No, all right, cool. I think I've got enough background.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like culture influenced like your so when you were at school, did you know you wanted to be a nurse?
Yeah, I did. I think I did when I was young. But you mix with different type of people in your walks of life and kind of switches your thought process of where you want to be in life. I think what made me definitely go towards nursing is after having Jimmy. Because then it gave me a responsibility and I needed something, a bit more stability. During my high school years, there was some enrolled pathway in place. So, I could have gone that pathway straight away, but then I decided to party, which a lot of islanders can relate with as well. And when you grow up in a sort of a strict upbringing as well, you can't be smoking, you can't drink, you can't go out partying, that.
Was it a lot of church in it? Or?
Yeah, there was a lot of church. I wouldn't say it was strictly on a regular basis, but standard.
Culturally, So then when you turn 18 and you got the keys to the world,
you got the freedom.
All the smoking, the drinking, the partying.
You feel like an adult then,
You think you know what's good.
After having Jimmy, that's when I was like, oh no, I got to get myself together, focus on my studies, focus on my nursing career. And that's where I've been all my life, and I think that's been the right choice. And, I met Maude in the process. It's really good. You meet so many inspiring people in your life, and I kid you not, Maude is one of my top inspiring. She used to be my boss. She still is. In the business,
We're gonna get into that. So Maude, as growing up as so you were 19 when you got into nursing.
So I was 19.
What made you decide to do that? Because you're a bit of a rebel, I heard from some of the sisters.
Maybe had one leg of my track pants rolled up with my
the teen ends.
That was a lifetime ago. dojo.
And you can relate to what June is saying in terms
Yeah.
of, when you turn, say, adult age.
Oh,
you get
no,
the kiss
man.
of the-
No, mine was way before that. My parents were not did not have these strict values. No, I'm so grateful for my mum and dad. They're so beautiful, but they were not strict. They should have been, they just were not. And they were always, the only thing they were strict with was I just had to come home to my own bed at the end of the night. There was no sleepovers. But I'd come back home to my own bed with 15 people. And then I'd be like, everyone can sleep I can't sleep at your house. Everyone come to my house. But then I'd wake up in the morning. My mum would cook everyone bacon and eggs. That's just how she is still to this day, feeding everyone. And she grew up in Darwin.
Yeah.
And that's where all her family is. And that's how my grandma is as well. My grandma was widowed at 50. And then she just never remarried, just all about family. She was our matriarch. She looked after everyone, cooked for everyone. That was her thing. So my mum was the same. But I did not have that strict upbringing. My parents were just please just make sure you just make it back home safely. Oh gosh. But so that I'm the opposite parent now. My kids are worse than what June had growing up.
Are you strict with your son now?
No, to be honest, because when you grow up in that strict upbringing, you want to make sure you still have a good connection with your child. They're able to communicate with you freely. So I allow him to do whatever he wants to do as long as he's able to communicate with me about it.
You
And
guys have a beautiful relationship.
that's my brother.
I know.
I think maybe I'm just thinking about it now, because we come here new, first generation immigrants, you're protective of your, you have to, because you're protecting them from the world. But then I think because your parents probably next generation,
they were not
no, everything's alright, Australia's good.
They were just chill. They're still children like that now. They tell me I'm too strict with my kids. I'm like, hey, you're the grandparents, I'm the parent. Nah.
So, what made you start thinking about nursing?
So my grandma was a nurse. My mum was a nurse, and I don't know. I just always thought I love nursing. I love looking after people. When I was a little kid, I was always the one that wanted everyone's babies and look after the babies, and I just loved all of that stuff. And I thought I wanted to be a pediatric nurse.
Yes.
And then I did pediatric nursing as part of my degree, and I was like, I couldn't deal. I would go home crying, just
because you see the little
and I had my own, I had my daughter at that age, and then I would just feel so guilty that I was going home to my kid who was healthy, and there was a parent looking after their child at the end of their life if they had cancer or whatever. It was. Nursing's a hard job, and then it's if you can't.
Every time I go to the hospital, I'm like, nah, man. I don't know how these guys do it, man. They pay them more.
Yeah, where were you at that protest? No, but it is I think we never we were speaking before off camera about how we don't celebrate our successes or we don't celebrate our wins, but I think as nurses we don't celebrate or we don't even acknowledge what we go through. I was 19, I was working in a palliative care unit at that time at 19. And I started work at 7. I remember I was going for my coffee break at 9:30, and I had already put 4 people in body bags for the day at 19. And it's that shift. I wasn't oh my God, this is so much. This is so overwhelming. I've watched 4 people die, prepared their bodies, and all of that stuff. But it's that is what we do on a day. And even now, 20 years later, or not 20 years, I'm not that old yet, but all these years later, it's not you don't sit here and be oh, that's so traumatizing or whatever. You just be I'm part of a beautiful profession, and that's what we can do for people and their families.
Oh, wow, that's amazing, man. I know it's one of those tough professions that I know I couldn't do, and I know most other people can't do. That's why there's such a shortage, right? Hey guys, Australia's we were talking about it before. It's such a diverse country. There's so many ethnic, different ethnicities here.
Yeah.
In terms of that in nursing, do you see in terms of Pacific Island representation within the nursing community? Is there much Pacific Island representation within that field?
I think there definitely needs to be more, especially in that qualified space. I think, with this emergence of these NDIS and these carer spaces, you do see lots of different cultural groups, but you do see a lot of Pacific Islander, people in that carer role. But it's
carers,
it's they need,
My mom was in aged care for 30 years. Look, she's suffering from all the trauma. Suffering from all the trauma.
And it's that's the such physical manual labour side of things. Whereas, like, you really do need to see a bigger representation of that skilled workforce, of those nurses going through uni. But it's those challenges, you know, to get there, to pay for your HECS fee, to be able to navigate your family life around full-time study, and you're not getting paid during that time. Like, I think that there definitely is that space, you know. Pacific Islander people have such a strong cultural understanding of how to provide care and how to care for people in that holistic way, but you're just not seeing that representation at a higher level. And even, I think, like, even within the registered nursing workforce, you're not seeing them progress and go through management roles as much as you would see other cultural groups. And I think it's that confidence or that kind of mindset. I don't know. Yeah. Do you reckon, Junie? Because I definitely have to throw you in a few roles.
Of course.
You wouldn't have backed yourself for, but you're more than capable, and you were more than capable than somebody else that would have happily put themselves forward for the role, but you would have never put yourself forward for it. Yeah. So just throw you in there and hope for the best.
Definitely. But I definitely agree with Maude. There's definitely in the qualified field a lack in Pacific Islanders. You know, in my whole nursing career, I've probably come across 2 Fijian RNs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Surely there's more of us. It's just we're not as represented.
And you know, they could be registered nurses in. I find there's a lot more in nursing homes than in an actually acute service. So I guess part of it is also the drive and taking that leap and believing yourself. I think a lot kind of judge like, oh, I'm going to be against, you know, that Westerner, and you know, they're going to speak better English than me. They know the specific,
the confidence,
the practice.
But it's also like taking those bigger roles, like, has a massive burden on your family life. Like, you can't manage it. It's so hard. Like, and that's, you know, like within the hospital system, like we were both climbing, and it was like my kids were young at that age. Like I had to stop.
So work balance. You guys on rosters, so you guys are rostered, so you don't get to choose your hours. Basically, they put you on a roster. And you've got to work around that. How many hours do you guys typically work?
When you like on a shift, you normally work like 8, 10 or 12-hour shifts. And when you work a shift like a roster, your life is dictated by that roster. But then even then, when you progress and you go into management roles, and it's like Monday to Friday, you're meant to be working a 40-hour week, but your workload, you do at least 50 hours. Like, your workloads are unrealistic to your hours. And
then you're carrying a lot of stuff home because you're dealing with people's personal issues, right? And you know, families and all the rest of it. So.
Exactly.
It's a big burden.
It
like
is.
Any nursing role that you do is a massive.
We don't want to scare
burden.
people off.
No.
Getting you really prepared.
Just come to the next strike.
I guess part of this show is educating and creating awareness within the Pacific community, and I go back to health is wealth. I guess if you don't have your health, then you know it's like there's no point to acquire all these assets or create this life for, or, you know, go to work and then not enjoy the fruits of your labor. You know. So in terms of, like, I guess you guys would see many different types of patients, like Pacific Islanders coming in with issues. What are some of the most common issues that you would see with Pacific Islanders in terms of health?
Do you know, like, so many like people that present Pacific Islanders not always, but very prevalently would present really late in the disease process. So you'll see other cultural groups, like, they'll present earlier. So when they've got more ability to treat earlier.
Earlier, they come seek help earlier?
Seek help earlier. So they'll seek help earlier, whereas a Pacific Islander person, like, generally speaking, won't present until it's like a really big problem and is very advanced, and then it makes it harder to treat. So that's probably one of the biggest things that we would notice in Pacific Islander health, and that's not just, you know, limited to Pacific Islander people. It's a lot of minority groups as well, but that they present so late in the disease process.
So we put up with the pain and the suffering for longer, and then come when it's
harder to treat.
That's right.
And there's also a lot of preventable illnesses, and that comes from the healthiest wealth, comes from those things like around, you know, diet controlled things, and those chronic health illnesses that really are all preventable.
I know gout's a big one.
Why'd you have to go there, man? It's the seafood joke.
If you can figure that out, I think you'd be a millionaire, right? So,
I think it's more the alcohol.
Bit in the carver. You're sad.
And to add on that, I think also diabetes is a massive thing that you see in the Pacific Islanders as well group. Also with the late onset symptoms, I think with Pacific mothers, they usually put themselves as second best. I think like all mothers anyway.
Yeah.
So you're always looking after the family first, and then, it's not until your symptom actually shows or worsens, then you're like, oh, maybe I should go and see the doctor now, know, and who knows what is going on in your body by that stage. It could be, a late pickup for your cancer or something.
Stuff like that. You do, and it is like there's a whole research around like especially Pacific Islander and like Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women presenting to an emergency department isn't always an emergency because they're like, their family unit, they've waited the whole day, they've done the school run, they've got everyone's dinner done, they've put the kids to bed, they've like got Bumble to come home and now they're coming to ED. Like it's almost like they need a higher triage category because you need to be mindful of like this person's role in the community, and then presenting to an ED is an emergency. So there's still so much in like the healthcare space that could be done to better support people and better identify the health concerns as well, because I think it sometimes does get underestimated, and then we leave those things. Like we've seen it many a times, like these things get left too late and they're too far into that disease process or illness that it then becomes a real emergency. Whereas like 3 weeks ago, if you would have gone to the GP when your stomach started to hurt a little bit, it would have been less severity and less impact to your family unit as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
So everything has a flow on you.
It just keeps getting worse and worse.
And then the impact becomes magnified. Because you've left it longer.
But don't get us wrong, like nurses are the worst for that. We literally like leave.
Because you're worrying about everyone else's
That's
problems,
right.
The worst. Literally,
just we were talking about illness, like the symptoms or mostly presented by Pacific Islands. So you're talking about diabetes. So diabetes, can you just explain a little bit about what diabetes is?
Yeah. So diabetes is basically when you look, it's either you're insulin dependent, where your pancreas is not working properly and the sugar is not being produced. So you need sugar for energy level for the cells to work in your body. And then you've got more where it's diet influence. So depending on what you're eating and how those carbs are being actually utilized and used in the body for the sugar to uptake into the cells. So a lot of the times you'll hear type 1 diabetes where they're needing, the insulin pen or they might have some sort of device already implanted. And then type 2 diabetes where it can be tablet controlled, but also they might need the insulin pen in addition if their sugar levels is constantly
so that's all
controlled.
because it's related to diet, eh?
Yeah,
so that's
diet
because
and
our diet, some of it, heavy starch diet like for Pacific Islanders and carbs. It's a heavy carb diet.
It is.
Yeah.
So,
but it's actually like if you look at the traditional Pacific like diet, it's not. That's not where the diabetes and all of that is coming from. Like when you look at how people previously lived off the land, the fresh food, fresh seafood, the fresh vegetables and stuff. It's now because of that introduction of processed foods and Western diet that you now see this real prevalence in the islands and in Australia within the island community of diabetes. But that's not from Pacific. That's not historically. It's not, because that's the traditional diet is fresh meat and fresh vegetables, and there wasn't
it's good
processed
carbs.
It's so that's something that's introduced. That's the impact from colonization and westernization on the diet is now resulting in these chronic health issues that didn't exist before for those groups. So it is again, health is wealth, but it is understanding that and understanding the nutritional content in foods and things like that it's like a whole degree in itself. That's a hard thing. And then understanding how that works in your family and your finances. It's expensive to eat healthy now. That is limiting your access to health and is wealth, because you have to be wealthy to be able to eat the fresh fruit and veggies and the good meat and stuff like that. It's hard.
I was talking to Anne about this. I'm like, it's probably people like us, like prophets seem to have overtaken, people. It's sort of like it's just people like us running these companies, so why not? Let's
Yeah.
be nice to each other, you know, be more
Yeah.
godly to each other, so that
Yeah.
we can all be healthy as well.
Yeah.
But hopefully there'll be a change within our generation.
Yeah, I think a lot of situation awareness and just like communicating and doing podcasts like this and so forth for the Pacific Islanders, just to spread that awareness and understand what they're putting in their mouth and how the effect is going to be on your body and so forth, especially with a lot of the processed food. Like McDonald's is a big thing in America. Sorry, not in Fiji now, from what I hear.
Yeah.
It's like the hangout
And
place.
even
like,
takeaways in general over there is huge
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
like we never had a fast food culture there, but
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
for Mother's Day, it's like let's order pizza. You
Yeah.
know, we're like
Yeah.
before. What happened to the love wars?
Yeah. Oh.
You know.
But it's like even here, it's cheaper to go and buy like 2 packets of
Yeah.
meat green and 2
Yeah.
litres of Coke than it
Yeah.
is to go and buy fresh meat and
Yeah.
vegetables. So it's like
Yeah.
it's access to health as well.
Yeah.
Is like a monetary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of like dietary habits, so diet. We're just speaking about the food, but. So it's basically our choice, like just being aware and then knowing, like, that's not good for me. Have that in moderation.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
not cut everything out. It's just we basically know
So,
Yeah.
it's now doing it, right? It's
Yeah.
like we do. We have
Sticking to
this,
it.
yeah. We got to do it now.
Time to action it.
What preventative steps would you recommend to help Pacific Islanders stay healthier?
It's the awareness, like it is
Yeah.
the education, hey, like
Yes.
understanding what foods are good and what foods you're really needing to avoid and things like that. Because, even for everybody, it's like you think something's healthy and you're eating that, but really it's like a cup of acai is really not that good for you. Like, it's a lot, there's a lot of like misinformation and easy like packaging and stuff that's marketed to look healthy, and really it's got like really high sugar intakes and things like that. But it is also about like, understanding that person and like how, their health literacy and things like that is so impacts so much, like nutrition and how people can avoid these preventable illnesses.
Because I don't read the labels, but what should we be looking out for, like in terms of do you know on the labels?
Oh, just like the high sugar, high sugars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Sugar.
then like those high, if it's not low GI, it's just
That's right.
releasing it all at once, and that's when it's really challenging for the diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your high fibers, if it's too many complex words in there, then it's too processed for you.
There's too many numbers. It's not good.
And it's also about finding that balance as well. Knowing what your finances are and so forth. Yeah, we can't all afford fresh food, fresh meat, but like if you're gonna go for fruits, then maybe you just need to shop a little bit wisely. Even with your meats, like. Sometimes you got to travel a little bit far to get those right products. And just like balancing it your whole week. Monday to Friday, try and eat as healthy as you can. You can only try. And then like the weekend can be like a family time binge sort of thing to a degree.
For someone already managing one of these health conditions, what are some effective ways to manage or improve their health?
It's just like small steps. Like you're not going to go from like having these really severe diabetes and all of that kind of stuff to like running your marathon. It's just like the small steps, the small like regular exercise, really incorporating the water. I think that's like the biggest thing, even for the,
see that. Feeling a bit parched.
Even for the older Pacific Islander community, like the water in the coffee doesn't count as water. All the good stuff. It is, see, everyone's drinking their water now. It is just like incorporating those small steps. Like you don't need to overhaul everything throughout your whole cupboard or anything like that. It's just making those small consistent changes that are going to impact and just trying to be as like proactive as you can in your health. It's hard, like it's a whole job, like managing your family and trying to make sure everyone has nutritious and delicious meals is a whole effort in itself, let alone if you've got one of these chronic health conditions as well that's making you more fatigued and not feel like up to any of it. Just small changes.
So, how you're saying earlier, we present late.
Yeah.
So how can they take, or what should they do to,
steps.
like, what are some of the steps to help present, avoid presenting so late?
I think, sorry.
You go, Kara.
But I think just, it doesn't hurt to pop into your local GP. A lot of people avoid that GP and just, like they're late signs, then they present to hospital.
When there's something wrong.
So that's why you've got like all these community services, especially GP, because that's the starting line.
Yeah.
If even just having a regular blood test, once every 6 months, once every year, see how your health is going. If the GP needs to adjust something or trial you on a new medication, it started then rather than picking it up later down the track.
I think it's like just really like accessing the earlier health, healthcare, and it is like trying to find yourself a GP that you can relate to, that understands you, that understands your family unit and how that works. And like June said, being proactive in your health, making sure that you're getting regular bloods, you're getting things checked on before. Like everyone just goes to GP when there's something wrong. Your health is ongoing.
Proactive.
But that's like something that's hard to find. Like not everywhere bulk bills now. You're not always going to get the same GP. It's trying to find that is hard. But I think it's so important that they.
Why are they not bulk billing anymore at most of the? Is it just
going to politics now?
It's a politics thing, but it is. It's like the government shifted and there's been lots of changes in the healthcare space, but it's just it actually now creates more of a challenge and more of a problem in our EDs, that people aren't accessing health because they can't afford the $63, $70 out of pocket, and then so all these chronic health issues are now becoming a bigger problem to our EDs, and people are presenting later and more unwell.
It's putting more pressure on the system,
definitely.
right?
Also don't get us started on that. We could fix it from the bottom up, but
I think there's three GPs like down the road here, and you got to make appointments. There's three of you guys.
And then you got to pay for it as well.
That's right.
Someone's making money.
Government.
They're getting their money back, that's for sure.
Okay, what is gout? Like, what is gout basically?
Do you want us to check out
Have you got gout?
No, I don't have any gout, but everybody I'm around
They're
has
always
gout.
complaining. They're diagnosed with gout straight away.
Yeah.
So
They self-diagnose that it's gout.
Anyone's like, oh, my knee hurts, gout.
and it's usually males. It's more prone to males.
Okay. Anne's brother's always got gout.
Why are you exposing me?
All right. So what is gout?
So it's like an inflammation in your joints, most commonly in the toes, your knee area, your knuckles, and it's basically crystallization and deposits of uric acid.
I can't say it, but it's like calcification and it makes the joints like all inflamed and uncomfortable. And the biggest contributing factors are seafood and alcohol.
Seafood and alcohol.
That's right.
It's
I mean, the
alcohol,
two
but
taste
everyone
nice
will say,
together.
Christmas is coming.
That's right.
Like gout to play up.
Take your pre-gout.
And again,
Is this such a thing? Free gout?
see?
Oh no way!
It's being aware of what's available there.
Yeah, free gout. This is a shout. We got to put the affiliate link up.
Or she's got your June on commission.
Where's the brand?
No, again, a completely preventable illness.
Yeah.
And it in all seriousness, like gout really does impact, because it's often in the joints and things like that, and especially for it is predominantly males, and then it impacts quality of life and stuff like that, but completely avoidable. And it starts young for some people, depending how much seafood you're consuming.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, as part of the preventative care as well, and like presenting early. Asking questions, because as us as a community, we sort of like disrespect authority and not really question if what our doctor's telling you. How do you think?
Get over that.
Yeah, how do you think we ask we don't ask enough questions in terms of our health? And maybe getting the wrong medication, and not if we're taking medication and it's not sitting well with the body, like just knowing when to say something,
The thing is like the power imbalance. Like, if a doctor's telling you what to do, it's kind of like that power imbalance where it's like, they probably know what's best. But it's like, if it doesn't sit right with you or it's not working for you, like you need to have that confidence and like be able to advocate for yourself and be like, look, I don't think I need a whole like insulin pen. Like I just want to try and, can you help me navigate how to better control my diet before we're going to this extreme? But I think it is that power imbalance, and it's also again comes back to that like confidence and the humility of like not asking questions or not trying to like look like you're kind of questioning that authority as much, but that people like really should be the navigators of their own health and have that have individualized care. That's what care should be. Is that we're looking at the individual and how this disease or chronic health issue is impacting them and their family. But that's not what happens. You go to the GP, they scribble you out a script, they tell you to take it, finish the whole course, take half of it home, and then the next week someone else has got a stomach ache, so they take that tablet to hope that it fixes them as well. It doesn't work like that, but anyway.
No, it's good. It's good to hear it from a professional's perspective, that we should be
Speak
questioning
up and
stuff
question
and
things more,
taking more ownership over our own health, not relying on somebody, like a person who prescribes medicine.
That's right. Yeah. And we're all humans, and humans can make mistakes, so it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes, that's true.
It's just about having that confidence that, yes, you're speaking to the doctor and, Fijian cultures and other Pacific Islanders, it's just that respect.
Yeah.
But you're still being respectful because you're still having your autonomy and trying to, the doctor that you're visiting might not know you on a regular basis, depending on how often you're seeing them. Yeah. So you need to ask things because they can't identify that unless you actually speak up and let them know what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, cool, man. We'll move on to the next. What do you have to do to become a nurse? What's the process? What's the steps we take?
This is a big process. It's so hard. I think like there are actually lots of different pathways. So like to become a registered nurse, you need to go and undertake 3 years of study, 3 years of full-time study, and you have to do a whole bunch of practical placements. So that's where you go, you study for the semester, and then you go out into the hospital and you do your training as a student nurse. That's 3 years full time that you have to study it. There's lots of unis that offer it via like distance and stuff now, but then there's a couple of different pathways that you can do it. So I did it a different pathway, and there was different government programs at the time. So I started off as like a lower grade nurse. I was one of those ones that started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
And that's why she's a pro.
So I did it kind of a bit of a different way around, and I started as a lower level nurse, and you got we were like really the shit kickers, and it was a bit of an old school type of nursing, but I think that built me to the nurse that I am today. And then that was a government funded program, and we got paid for a year, and then we also got a year off uni. So then I only ended up doing 2 years at uni, but it was my daughter was born in the middle of that, so it ended up taking me another 6 months longer than that, but I still got it done. So that's how you can, there's lots of different levels, but like I said, there's assistants in nursing, and then there's enrolled nursing, and then there's registered nurses, and then Junior and I have both got postgraduate degrees. So we've gone and furthered our studies, and it's a big deal. I'm one of the first in my family to get a master's degree. And
congratulations.
Same.
Well done, guys.
Again, we never celebrate our successes, but it's like, we're passionate about the field that we work in, and we didn't just get our one degree that will let us work. We have this ongoing continuous professional development to be able to contribute how we can to the nursing.
So it's a bachelor's in nursing. Is this what it's called?
So the first one is your bachelor in nursing, and then
and then you go on postgrad depending on which other nursing field you want to go into. So whether you want to be a specialised in an area. Or be consulting in another area, or be a nurse practitioner at the end of it. So there's different.
I think that leads on to my next question.
Oh, okay.
What different types of areas of specializations are there in nursing? Like, so what are some of them?
Like everything. So you can go from everything from like pediatrics to geriatrics. So from the newborn, like tiny little babies that are in the intensive care units, to the end of life and geriatric care for our elderly.
And they're different specialists within that.
Like you could not put June to look after those tiny newborns. She needs to stay at the other end of the spectrum. June would be like,
I'm on the end of the scale.
And you provide a specific type of nursing care for that.
For that field.
So then you're called like a clinical nurse specialist or clinical nurse consultant. In those fields, and like there are areas that you can kind of move around in, like different areas, and I think I probably have moved around a lot in the nursing field to try and get a real variety of exposure and different nursing experience, which like I keep at such high value, all those experiences. But then there are some people that come out of uni and start their careers like Junie, and you just know that's the field that you want to be in, is what you're passionate about, is what you're really good at, and Yeah.
So what area do you work in, June? What's the...
So Jerry's has always been a field that I've enjoyed. Jerry's as in
oldies.
L.
That's geriatric.
Yeah, geriatric.
Jerry's
Oh, you
all
got
So all the oldies.
Nice.
But in specific, like those with dementia.
Yes.
So there's different sort of areas of dementia, whether it's early stages or advanced stages.
Yes.
So they become very vulnerable in that stage, and that's an area which I like looking into because the behaviours as displayed is quite challenging for your everyday carers. So I'm basically more towards that field, but more as an outreach.
Yeah, I'm just selling that. So Junie is like very specialised in caring for people that you've
She's
done
advertising for me.
because you don't do it for yourself. But June, a specialist in looking after patients with severe dementia, and looking after patients with severe dementia is so specialised. No one wants to go into it because it's not glamorous, it's not trauma, it's not like, oh my God, she's so cool, she works at ICU. So it's a very specialised field that you have to genuinely be passionate about, and to
100%,
understand
100%.
these patients are like throwing microwaves and horrifically violent because they're so distressed. So understanding and still having that compassion and care for people is such like a unique skill set, and Junie's such a beautiful advocate for them.
And I feel like a lot of us Pacific Islanders fit in these kind of areas because we are so resilient and we are like
and compassionate,
understanding.
Whereas other people are just like, oh my God, they threw the microwave at me again. And you're like, oh.
I need to special.
And we do downplay it, right? Like more like what you said, like she's downplaying it.
June has like created this whole service that outreaches into the community to support people and support people in nursing homes and give these people with dementia and severe dementia real like dignity and autonomy. So she's wildly downplaying it, but anyway.
And Maude, you've moved into like few management roles within the nursing industry. So how does that come about, like as you like throughout your years?
So like I started nursing when I was quite young and had lots of experience in like lots of different clinical settings. I wanted to kind of go and figure out what it was I wanted to do. And to be honest, the reason that I went into management roles was I didn't actually want to lead teams or be a manager. That was never like my career pathway. But Vanessa, who's my business partner, she was my manager, and then she really supported me through. Like I wasn't in a bad way. I was in a challenging
difficult time of your life.
I was in a difficult time of my life. I was like a newly single mum, and I could not pay bills on what I was earning. So Vanessa did what I did to June later, and just kind of like plucked me into a role and chucked me in the deep end. And with nursing, so much of it is sink or swim. Like you got to figure it out. If you're a good nurse, you're just going to figure it out, and that's what happened. And I did love like leading teams and being a part of care, but I was always, June will know the first time I'd shut up. So how I actually met June all these years ago was I got thrown into this role, and it was in aged care. I was like, oh sweet, so easy. They're going to be all these cute little old chilled people tucked up in their bed. I came from a ward where like we had lots of patients with traumatic brain injuries, so they were young and mobile. They were trying to bash us all the time and stuff as well. But anyway, so I went to that. The first day, I was young as well for a manager. So I went into this new unit. I did not know anybody, and Junie was the educator. So she was like my right hand, my offsider. And I wanted to I'm always want to be a humble leader. Make sure people know I'm the kind of manager that's going to get on the floor and help you when things are shit. I'm going to help you. So anyway, June and I in office, we're talking through these kind of plans and strategies for how we're going to support this unit that I thought was going to be all cute and fluffy, and it was actually this really traumatized unit because the staff assault was so high. Anyway, this patient arrived at the door, right? He's sitting on the thing. He didn't talk, and I was like, oh, let me help you. And June's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, she thinks I don't know what to do. Anyway, so I'm like pushing him in his chair, and he's this big man, and I knew he had incidents of aggression before. Pushing him in the room, and I'm like, oh, why is June following me? Like, I've got this. So I push him in the room, and then I'm like, oh, okay, Mr. blah, 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 just stand up when you're ready. And I could notice June was real close to me. She's like close but far away. She's making the bed. He just stood up, this man, 6'3", ex-rugby player, and he went to go punch me.
Ex-footballer,
and I just ran out of the room, and June was pissing. And then we're both outside of the room, and he's standing there 6'3", trying to kill me. And we're hiding behind this thing. And I looked over at June, and I could see, like, she didn't know me never met her. Brand new manager, thought I was so mad. And I looked over at June, and she looked at me, and I knew she didn't want to laugh, and I started piercing myself. She's
That's so
laughing.
funny.
And ever since this day, I was like, see, I just fake it till I make it, Judy.
Welcome to aged care.
That was it. And then the next week when the microwave came flying in my office, I'm just like,
This is normal life.
June's watching me. The humble figure.
She's somewhere at the back there. She knows.
She's a safe distance where I'm the idiot that's real close.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, that's our story.
And honestly, she was the best manager ever that ward has ever come across. Like, she was just a great team player.
So that's just like relationships for me. That means is really important within your guys' industry. Like the relationships you have.
Like all of our, like, I have nursing friends from 15 years ago, and they like at my kids' birthdays, and it's like trauma bonding. Like,
Trauma bonding.
You see all this stuff about trauma bonding. I'm like, that's our whole.
You got so many little lingo, industry lingo, like
I know, but
silent aggression,
we don't even
trauma
know.
bonding. I'm like, bro, this is a good show. Awesome. Okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty stuff. For a young person wanting to get into nursing, what's the pay structure like in terms of for nurses, a starting nurse? What would they be expecting to get?
So you know what they get paid at Audi?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get less than that.
Less than that. Wow, that's unfair, eh? So
It is. And you know what? It's
just
such
Albanese.
and he said he was going to give us some money, right? It's like disheartening because it isn't like no one's doing this for the money, and we're all doing it because we care and because we want to provide care. But it's now to the point where it's like we can't feed families on those wages. Like you can't. It's like you come out of uni, you've done a 3-year degree, you've got your HECS debt is like however many tens of thousands of dollars, and you're going to come out and in the first year, you're honestly making less than what they make at Audi.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's hard. It's it's hard.
So what
for
would
our
a nurse
profession.
be expecting to start with? About 60 as a starting, for like a 38-hour week? Or
I think around 60 would be.
is there levels of nursing? So you come in first year, so you come in first year, you start 60,
Second
and
year.
then does it automatically increments go up?
8 years. And then at 8 years, it's capped.
Yeah.
Unless you go get your postgrad.
So every year, so you come in at 60, and then it goes 65 or 70, or how does it?
I don't know, because you don't really know your base salary because you're always on penalties.
Different rosters.
You need to know how to milk the roster. You need to make sure you work every Saturday.
Those weekends.
The night shifts. We can show you.
This is real talk, guys.
Yeah.
This has been real.
If you guys, June's wrote it down here. If this is how you want to make the money.
No, for all the real guys, I guess. Because it's also an industry that people like, it's stability, right? Because you'll always have work. You're never going to be out of work.
COVID
you can provide.
taught us that.
So it's sort of like, in that way, it's attractive because it's an industry, if I get a mortgage, I'm going to be able to pay this because I have always more work than I need, you know?
That's right.
But you've got to work for it, I guess.
Yeah.
But 80 to, I think me personally, looking at the different ranges of salary, I think nursing is a good career to be in because the wages are not bad, but you do work the hours. The job is tough.
Yeah.
You're actually working for your money. But so from about 60, it could go up to all the way up to say 140 a year or 150 or what? No.
Calm down.
No. So tell you management level. So.
The high you go up.
So
like even if you're a manager of a unit that's managing like 65, 70 staff, you're managing a 30-bed unit, you're going to be on about 120, 125. Okay. And you're working like a 60 to 80 hour week to manage that work.
Really?
It's a big, 40 hours. You get paid for 40 hours, but the workload, you've got 60 to 60 staff, and you're doing 24/7 rosters. You've got all these families.
So what level nurse is that you get to so that your manager, you pass the level 8, then now you become manager. Yeah.
You can jump like earlier if you've got your postgrads. If some hospitals offer like management pathway programs and stuff like that, so you don't have to wait until you get to 8 and then go and do that. Like I never made it to RN 8 because I did my postgrad and then I progressed quicker than that.
So even
so
an
that's the
RN8 would still only be like 100, yeah?
Yeah,
Or
if
less?
you
Yes,
work every
baseline,
Saturday,
yeah.
you might get crack 100.
Really?
110, yeah.
Oh, wow.
You just got to advance with your studies,
Yeah.
So the
basically.
postgrad
to
gives
get-
you
Yeah,
the
yeah.
opportunity for
Yeah,
management.
Definitely.
Do you need to have a postgrad?
You don't have to, but it's kind of like if you, to progress quicker than the years, I found that the quickest way. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I gotta get this postgrad.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But does it help with the actual work that you do? The postgrad,
You're
it does,
You're a better
Yeah.
clinician. Your
Definitely.
postgrad, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit more focused and
Yeah.
you're able to just specialize in that area
Yeah.
rather than looking after
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whole,
the whole, yeah.
And you're more innovative. Like your postgrads help you develop this program to support people with dementia. You're more innovative. You've got more opportunities. Like your postgrads all reflective study. So it's
So that's what the other thing I want. Education is still really important, especially in
Yeah.
your field, because you can't learn this stuff off YouTube. It's not
Yeah.
not possible.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes you see the doctors and you're like, oh, you really have to learn that.
yeah, so that's what I mean. Like in some occupations you can't, and that's why sometimes with YouTube and that they too much like, don't waste your time getting uni. This way I don't think it applies to you guys, and it's like
Yeah. Thank goodness it doesn't work like
Maude. So I want to commend you and Vanessa, man. You guys are hustlers. You guys are the real living the Australian dream. Have you guys started an amazing business, which really which there isn't many of. So you guys tell us a little bit about Integra Nursing and how it came about.
Yeah, so I was in the hospital, I was working with Junie, and like I said, I was a single mum at the time, and I couldn't keep working the 50-hour weeks. We were in, COVID had just started, my son started kindergarten, he started kindergarten and went to school every single day, 50-hour weeks. There was 2 kids there the whole time. Anyway, they had a great time. But I was like, I just need a bit of a break. I went and did some corporate stuff for a while, and corporate's not me. I need to be able to see kind of like the care that I provide and how I look after people. So I left corporate, and then I was like, there's all this NDIS stuff, there's all this community stuff. Like, I'm going to go from the bottom up and figure it out. So I went into community and I did a few casual shifts, and I could just see how bad things were, and not to discredit anyone else that's in that space providing that care, but from the experience and what I was doing, I was like, this is terrible. These people are vulnerable. They're not getting the care that they need. These people that are running big companies are not care providers. The people that I was exposed to didn't even care about health or the care or the people. So I went to Vanessa, who had been my manager and really supported me in like my professional growth, but had also always been a good friend.
Gotta meet this Vanessa lady and get her on the podcast.
She was waiting for her invite show. I went to her and she was on maternity leave at the time. And I remember I took my mum's laptop. I didn't even have my own laptop. I took my mum's laptop, and I had done this PowerPoint presentation, and I'd crunched all these numbers, and I had what I was aiming to sell to her, and she's like, but what do you need me for? Like, why do you need me to be a part of the business? And I'm like, I'm scared. I can't do it by myself. And so that's kind of, the business came about because we saw these people in community not getting the care that they deserved, and not having people that were actually healthcare practitioners looking after them, and not there was nothing proactive about their care. There was nothing like person-centered or any of that stuff in what care should be. And for me, that was so disheartening and felt like it was just not genuine for that person. So I was like, nah, man, there's all these people out there, we can crack it, let's give it a go. We know good nurses, we've got amazing teams around us, let's just figure it out, and we'll go from there. And then we've been given a few really good opportunities and been so fortunate. But Vanessa and I are very much just we don't have this business plan on paper, and we don't have, we're going to do this by this date. We wait and we get given, a gift from wherever, and then we're like, oh shit, okay, we've got to figure this out now, and we'll roll with it. And we're so fortunate that over all of our years of nursing, we've been able to come into contact. People know what kind of leaders we are and what kind of nurses we are, that they have that trust in us. And we've been super fortunate and super fortunate to be able to impact the people whose lives that we care for, and their family and loved ones, and especially just at that end of life as well, and being able to provide that in people's home is so special to us as people, but also to the business that we provide.
It's so unique because you guys are like a boutique sort of service, right? Are there many providers? Like, who funds this stuff? Like, so
there isn't. There is obviously palliative care, so that end of life care, there is grants and funding, but you're not getting the level of specialised nursing that you need, and that symptom management. So at the end of our life, as we were speaking about before, we can't cure metastatic cancer. When cancer's everywhere, we can't cure it. So now, instead of trying to fix problems, we're now focused on giving people dignity in dying and them having autonomy over their life at the end of their life. Then becomes our focus in care and making sure, they're free from pain as much as they can and that they're comfortable and that we support and provide that holistic care with family. So there is kind of funding and stuff out there a little bit for it, but it's for bigger companies, and then really when it comes to the provision of care, it's actually not there. And then you see lots of families having deaths in hospital, which is not as nice and not as holistic, but a lot of the families that we support, they do privately fund it, because that's important to them.
Yes, and what's the difference between having, like, running a business and being an employee for you? What's been the main sort of change, the shock?
I don't sleep, I'm panicked all the time. I think, it has been a big shock because, before I've led teams and I've been a part of big projects that have made really big changes, but it's never like the whole burden is sitting on your shoulder. Like even when I'm running teams, if I can't get the roster right or someone calls in sick, there's always, like, for hospitals, there's always a backup plan. And there's always somebody else, like if I'm not there's somebody else out of hours, but this business is like, oh, I've got hands calls at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's like a big burden for me. And I think I obviously I don't overthink it, but I'm like the very conscientious one, and Vanessa's just like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. I'm like, oh Lord.
I think the dynamic works, so you need that.
That's why we're like chalk and cheese, the two of us.
Beautiful.
Don't let her look after patients, because she's an ED nurse, so she's just like, you're fine, let's go.
Transfer upstairs.
Send them up.
What are some of the professionals that you guys have found that you've needed, like when running your own business, that you've that's been helpful to you?
As nurses, we're always working in what we call like a multidisciplinary team. So you've got social workers and physiotherapists and occupational therapists, speech pathologists, and all of that kind of stuff. But I think, not to discredit anyone else's professions, but nurses, we do all that stuff in a day. And it's like, those really specialised, those really specialised things when we need the OT to come and do the home modifications and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, I can tell you what I need because I'm going to be the one that provides the care. So, and we're so fortunate to have the doctors and the relationships with other community providers that we do. But it is this is the thing that we struggle with in business as well, is everyone loves nurses and they're so great, but then coming to pay for a nurse is sorry, you'd rather pay more for a cleaner. It's that is a constant battle for us, and it's people value doctors and will pay whatever for a doctor, and even physios and OTs and all of that, not to discredit it, but then everybody loves a nurse, but it's you have to pay. It's don't you pay your cleaner? You pay your cleaner 100%. The same anyway. So that
sounds like brokers as well.
So that is a battle for us, but I think luckily that Vanessa and I have the dynamic that we do to make it through, because definitely running the business is not for faint-hearted. I've found out.
Yeah, so running the business, so are there other professionals outside, within what you run? So your accountant, have you had to learn to how your broker? Have you had to learn to
and Vanessa really handles all that because I'm just having I just show up and get the keys to the car.
So you're more operational, and then she's more the run the business side of things.
So she's very business savvy, money savvy, and I'm the one that's at the point of patient care, making sure that the team on the ground know what they need. I know what they need, and they feel supported. Any escalation for the patient's care, I'm forever there, never leave us, in and around all the time.
Oh, nice, man. Oh, wow, man, guys, nurses, you got to pay the nurses.
That's it.
We're almost there. So, June, recently we've helped you into getting home, and your journey. Congratulations, man.
Thank
well
you.
done for a single mom, a nurse, and
Stop.
from the Pacific community, killing it. So, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
What was your, I guess we were introduced through Maude.
She's always looking after me.
Yes. And then it was funny because I had to ring Maude a few times. Hey, is June really looking for her?
This girl goes quiet and then she comes back.
Is she really? So I was like, I'm gonna ask June about this today. What was that all about?
I'm so Fijian in that sense.
So I had to push pretty hard to get the paperwork and the documents and
admin's not your
but
fault.
also I genuinely cared, because I can see the situation on paper, but it's now I've got to make you comfortable to know that, you know, I'm working in your best interest.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was your experience like? I don't know, could you?
So first of all, I'll just say thanks to Maude for introducing you to me. And it's been great. Thank you so much, Joe, for all your support. And Anne, great team.
You're welcome,
Great
you're
team.
welcome. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it just took me a while to adjust into the current lifestyle I moved into. And plus, you know, being out there, single mom, just, you know, work takes over my life and whatever else is going on.
Yes.
So it takes me a while to push and get paperwork, so all that admin things going. But yeah, like the first time, like we engaged by email and so forth, and I spoke to you, I just felt like very comfortable, like I can trust you straight away. And I love the team dynamic between you and Anne. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I knew like this is the right broker. Like I've used broker before, you know, and I chose not to go in that pathway. So it was like new beginnings for me. I'm like, let's give it a go. You know, Maude did explain to me and introduce, you know, spoke about you in my earlier days, and I just hadn't gone ahead with that. But you know, it was in the background. So I'm so glad and grateful that I did go ahead with you guys. And like I couldn't find any broker that made that process so easy for me. Like I kid you not. Like if I compare it to my previous broker, like I can just relate with, you know, everything with you guys. Like it was just easy to talk with you, communicate and be transparent about like my life.
I feel like people, it's weird because I just talk normal and I'm like, we're talking like friends, but we're talking about serious stuff.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like people can't take me seriously because it's like, because it feels too casual.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that. Nah, does this guy really know about him? So it's sort of like, you know, it's weird sometimes. Maybe I have to, I don't know,
gotta
become
be
a bit
more
more
judgy.
professional.
Because it is, it's like, it's so, it's such like a personal thing. Like you're literally providing all of
your life.
all laid out.
That's true.
And
Yeah,
it
you
is
are.
like,
This guy,
even like, people are so reserved about it as well. And like, I've been to other brokers before, obviously we met Joe, but they're like judgy.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you can't keep, ask Vanessa. That's why she's like, can't help. Because she's like, they keep telling me, you know, I can't spend this or can't spend that. And it's like, you're not providing, you're not giving judgment. You're just talking to people about their situation, how you can kind of optimize it and what support that they can do. That it's, that's why you're so approachable. And
Yeah.
don't
I think the
change.
industry is changing now. So it's like, you know, all our spending habits are all there now, and it's sort of like, but it's everyone's like in the same position. It's not like you're any better off, and it's like, you know, it's sort of like, I don't know. I'm just being me, I guess.
But getting so many people across the line, Joe.
Definitely.
Like even Junie getting her place, like it's so inspiring.
Wow.
Like,
That's right.
I find
I'm-
it inspiring. I'm just like, oh, Junie can do it.
No, I'm
I
like,
just got another 15
anyone can
years.
do it.
No, it's not anyone. You worked hard for that.
yeah, 100%. I think, man, nurses. I think we'll go bend our backwards for because I know because of the work you guys do, and I'm like, man, these guys work so hard. They deserve the stability.
Yeah.
Should just give them a house, man.
Honestly. And that's the thing. It's like they struggle with nurses and struggle getting nurses in like the metropolitan hospitals. It's like there's no conversation.
Yeah.
We can't live there. Like we can't live there on our wages.
Yeah, that's right.
Expecting people to travel. Like other countries do it differently. Like you've got you know, subsidized housing. If you go to Dubai, and like, or you get like a chunk of gold. Nurses get like a chunk of gold, mad money, and accommodation.
Tax free.
That's where we'll go when the kids are older.
That's right.
Yeah.
I wonder if policies like that would be possible. You know,
It is possible, and then that's like the other disheartening thing is like, you know, you can create all these opportunities and stuff for other professions, and you need nurses. Like nurses left at a 20% rate after COVID. Like you've had mass exodus. You see it on the floor in the hospitals that they can't cover shifts, but yet you're providing no incentives. You won't even agree with this, you know, pay increase we're asking for.
Yeah,
it's not even in line with inflation.
Some of the medical, like say for nurses, they have some exemptions for certain policies we don't pay, but then they make the wages, it has to be minimum 120. And you're a nurse who's working. And the salary starts from 60 to 80, you know, like 9, you know, so sort of like, they design the policy against what you're actually earning, and it's crazy, man. So, but anyway, hopefully, catfish the nurses, guys. Someone's probably there must be a male running. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Last few questions, guys. So. Are there any financial benefits of being a nurse?
There's stability. But you know what? You can't do it for the financial. Like nobody, There's no good nurse that's there. He's like, oh, I come here. I
100%.
woke up today and came
Feel
to
like
work
that,
to do all that's in my day for my
My paycheck.
my amazing paycheck.
That's true, man. Nah, that's why I have a
It's
lot of
not,
respect
yeah,
for the
it's not
nurses.
a, it's not a perfect, like, and yeah, we are so fortunate that we're never going to be out of work as a profession. Like, we're never going to not have work, whether it be private, public.
This show was supposed to inspire nurses.
It still does. Like,
No,
there's just work available everywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you have free time, you can always pick up that
that's
extra. Look
true.
for that
That's
weekend
true.
rate, that afternoon.
Yeah.
We're going
Balance.
to cheat sheet for you about how to make the most money. But it isn't, you don't go there for the money. And like, you know, you leave there and you know that you've impacted people's lives. And like I said, my grandma was my biggest inspiration for becoming a nurse. And I remember even, like, she lived until she was 97 last year. And we would be at the shops and someone would be like, I don't know if you remember me, but you delivered me into the world. And my grandma would be like, yes. She had no idea. She had no idea. But like, that's kind of thing is like, you do have an lasting impact on people's lives. And like, even in my own career, and Junie would have the same, like, you remember those moments where people are genuinely so thankful for the care that you've provided to their loved ones, or the life that you've saved, or all of that kind of stuff. And it's not in like this heroic way that's what we're going to work for,
100%.
but that's our work, that's our profession. And it is like disheartening that it's not as valued as that, but it's not, we're not going there for put our capes on and fly through the shit.
No, I know, man. You see it when you're at the hospital and stuff. I'm always amazed. I look at the nurses and just all
What
the
they're
medical people, you know.
doing.
It takes more than money just to do this job.
Yeah.
Man. You're not here for the money, basically.
Yeah.
Soul savers, eh? Saving souls.
Your wing.
June, why do you think home ownership is so important for us as like Pacific Islanders?
Good question. I think like it's very important. Okay, from my view, my perspective, for someone who's single and of Pacific Islander, it's just spreading that news to all communities out there that you can still do it on your own. Like, you can't just rely on one broker telling you like, single income, it's going to be difficult. And that's what I found really great with you guys, Joe. You kind of go through those barriers and you try and go like look over that rather than just knowing and presuming like, oh no, you know, these time and age you need to two incomes.
That's true, man.
And that's why, you know, like Maude said, you're not so judgmental on anyone that comes into your path, and you try and find the best way that will work for them. Not just looking at, this is going to be a problem, this is going to be a problem, how do we fix that problem? So for me, I think it's just important, like, just giving that hope to the community, you know. We're like beautiful people and everything. And, you know, if I can inspire someone on this podcast, myself and Maude, reach out to Joe. But, and that's like legitimate. So, just don't give up. You know, you can do it on your own. You can do it, you know, with two incomes and so forth. It's just like navigating to the right person. And it's, you know, having that stability basically.
Stability. For you, I feel like because you've got
me and my son.
Now you've got a home somewhere.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't have to move.
Something
The landlord doesn't have to give you the, you know, and you pay
the lease is up, sort of thing. You know.
As a mum, as a single mum, as a busy nurse, you don't want to be at the mercy of somebody else.
That's
you know,
right.
To live around.
And especially if you have a kid, you know, knowing that you can have something for them. So, you know, you're working for a purpose there.
And the fact that you know, bought a house where you actually want to live. Like, you make the compromise to be like, all right, I've got to move an hour and a half, like, out of where my work is, where I want my, you know, where you want, well, Jimmy's grown up, but, you know, where I want to live is you've actually managed to navigate that. And you know, you've done a really good job of that, Junie.
Thanks,
so proud of you.
Thanks to you.
Maude, I know home ownership probably something a lot more like for the, because you guys are second generation, third generation, it's just normal for you guys, you know. What's it like? Why do you think it's important from your perspective, home ownership?
Look,
you know?
like for me, obviously, like my family don't own multiple homes or anything like that. And my grandparents and my dad came here as refugees. But my grandparents worked really hard for home ownership and made, like, you know, it was back in the day, it was different. The money was different. Like, my grandpa said to me, he remembers one of the first houses they bought, he was petrified because the house cost 4 years of his full-time salary. But now people borrowing houses, they're never going to earn that money in their entire life. Like you're relying on equity and all of that kind of stuff. So for me, mine's the same. Like, yeah, obviously I'm not a homeowner yet, but it's that stability and having, like for me, my parents have owned their home and being able to give me and my sister that opportunity that if we don't have, you know, if the rent's up or, you know, the lease is done, that we've got that stability and be able to pass it on. So it's more that, you know, you've got something stable financially to pass on to the kids.
I think that's the message here. Like, it's we don't need multiple homes, to be honest. You need one family home, and that's what I try to encourage. Like, stop listening to all this buy 10 investment properties this for now till you get 1 or 2. You know, like start with 1, and if you can get 2, at least you've got a strong foundation for your family, and that's what we're all about, just building that foundation. You know. If you get to 4 or 5, like some people, maybe I'm not, you broke up, you're too rich. Go to the next guy.
But it's also like, I feel like once you're doing that and once you're, you know, getting more and more properties, it's like then now you're not just losing time. And like we see, I think, June and I were speaking about this before, and we do so much care for people that are at the end of their life and looking at their legacy and what they missed in life. And nobody ever says like, oh my gosh, I wish I went to work another 50 hours that week, or like I wish I bought more property. They always want the time. Like I wish I had more time, or I wish I was there when my kids were younger. And I think for us, like that is a beautiful, like timely reminder. And I think that's something that I always keep at the forefront of everything I do is like, you can't get this time back. Like you gotta, you know, do the things that you need to do, and you need money to survive and all of that kind of stuff. But it's like you have to find that balance of like, are you just buying more houses, or are you trying to get ahead but you're losing time because you're never
that's the
gonna
key
get
thing
back.
that that's such a key point, Maude, because that's where I struggle with like trying to like, you know, like with the way I approach it, like because people are looking for me to say you're gonna be rich and you buy 3 or 4, but it's like, bro, we just want to work on this one and create this foundation and stability for your family. I've been guilty of what you're saying, chasing the money, but so it's sort of like we gotta hone it back right down. Like, what's the most important time with your family, you know? So it's like,
it's hard. It's a hard balance.
Yeah.
It's a hard how many times we've been there for people at the end of their life, and there is not one person that's like, I wish I bought more properties, or like, I wish I worked more hours. They want that time back, and they want that time back with their family, and you can't. You just have to keep that at the forefront of every decision that you make in life. Is like, is this getting me to have more time with my family? That's what you need to
that's amazing, man. I think that's not a good note to end it on, but I've got a couple more questions. But that would have been a really good.
I was going to say, we can say time is an essence.
What qualities and skills do you think it takes to be a good nurse? Like, so for someone to become, you know, the qualities and the skills that they would need to be successful in this.
I think the most important is someone who's very passionate, and you got to be a people's person. You know how to communicate. Communication is very important, and being a team player. Like, if you don't know how to team play within, you know, a group of people, then it might become difficult trying to work and navigate as a nurse. Maude will add on to that.
I think it is. Like, you've got to be compassionate. You've got to be understanding as well. Like, you're not, you know, you might know what you need to do for that shift and how you want it to work, but it never works like that anyway. So you have to be, understanding. You've got to be so resilient. Like, you have to have that resilience, and you can't be afraid of hard work. Like, it's a hard job, but it's so rewarding. Like, it is such a rewarding career and profession, and like, if you're doing it well and for the right reasons, that's who you actually are as a person. Like, you are a nurse as a person.
That's right. And you can't find anything rewarding like that in any life experience, to be honest.
I tried to go to corporate, and I was like, no, this is not it.
It's just not the same. It's not there.
It's not. And it's like, you can go to a job for more money and stuff like that, but it's like, if you're truly a nurse, you can't get that job satisfaction or that from anything other than being a nurse.
Wow, guys, man, thank you guys both so much today, man. It was such a privilege, and you know, like, you guys have big hearts, and I hope, you know, God continues to bless both of you in your journey. And you know, from everything you guys have said today, it's like you guys are so genuine and so real. And this is what we need more of, man. Real people, real nurses, the real people on the ground fighting the good fight, man. So it's sort of like,
Thank you.
that thing about time that you said earlier, man, that is like, That's so
You have
important.
to, yeah. I think it's easy to let it kind of slip away, and when you've got things like money and bills and opportunities coming at you, you just have to, like for me, I always bring it back to whatever's coming my way. I have to think and sit there and think, is this getting me towards my goal of having more time with my family?
Yes.
Because your kids are only going to be that little, or like Jimmy's still.
He's still my baby.
He's still the baby. He's never allowed to have a girlfriend.
No, not until he's 30.
But it is, you only get that time once, and if you lose that opportunity, especially with your kids, like you can't get that back. Yeah. So special.
It is.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. And
Thank
I'm
you.
definitely going to have you guys back on at some time.
Yeah.
When
We're going to be famous.
For the Patreon channel, remember?
That's right.
The nursing.
Juicy nursing story.
What is it? Yeah, what is it called? Nursing. What was that called?
What's our nursing podcast?
Yeah.
Run by Dr. Joe.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Joe. Prof. Joe.
What ex-nursing stories or
Oh,
whatever.
stop it. Yeah, we'll expose everyone on there.
Nursing stories exposed.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
See you
Lovely.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joe. Thanks. Thank you.